The following show contains a fictional narrative that includes themes, events, and language that some may find distressing. Discretion is advised.
Welcome to This Line Isn't Secure, a Delta Green role-playing game podcast where today we continue our journey through impossible landscapes. If you're listening to the show as an audio-only podcast, remember you can also watch the show on the Null Project YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/@nullproj. That's youtube.com/@NULLPROJ. If this is your first time joining us, allow us a moment to introduce ourselves. My name is Libby, and I will be your handler.
Hello, everybody. I'm Ty, and I'm going to be playing Deputy U.S. Marshal Reed Hollis.
I'm Charlie, and I'll be playing Adam Blackburn.
I am Andy, and I am playing FBI forensic psychiatrist Alexander Shoemaker.
And I'm Hawk. I'll be playing professional mathematician and all-around computer whiz Heather Stoddard.
Last episode, you got to know a bit about the personal lives, hopes, and fears of our agents. And now we begin the campaign proper. Welcome to Impossible Landscapes. Okay, tell me about each of your agents getting settled in New York. If you're local, then talk to me about how you're preparing for this mission you've been called to. Be sure to tell me when you'd like to arrive in Washington Square Park as well as part of that. We'll start with Ty.
I think that Reed is the type of person that would like to show up a little bit early. You know, his life is pretty banal since he's been kind of relegated to the grunt work of a U.S. Marshal. And so he spends a great majority of his days drinking in self-pity. He'd probably stop day drinking around the time that he's calculated in his head where he would be sober enough to be functional when he actually meets up with the people that he's supposed to be meeting up with. So he gets there around, let's say 4:15, and he's just kind of hanging out in the park.
What is Reed? We already spoke about what Reed looks like usually. Is Reed dressed any differently, or he's in his pretty usual getup?
Reed's dressed like a Fed, black slacks, black jacket, white shirt, some sort of tastefully colored patterned tie, short-ish black hair, in a Fed haircut. He's got a decent, decently chiseled jawline, but maybe a little stubble he's let kind of crop up there since he's depressed. He just looks like a Fed.
Gotcha. Great. All right, let's go to Charlie. Talk to me about your character, what the preparations look like. I know for you it's a little different.
Yeah, he got recently transferred to Ray Brook. That trip was as silent as it could get. Meaty officers with mean mugs would hold him down in his seat in the plane ride via aircon. His arrival at jail would be more lively than he's used to in maximum security. It'd be a lot more people looking at him, giving him kissy faces, knowing that he's fresh meat on the market now. He doesn't pay them no mind, that's for sure. He'd be wearing like regular clothes, a little jacket, maybe. No, it's August, so he would be wearing like a long sleeve shirt, something more comfortable. just in case something needs to happen.
Got it. Always preparing. Got it.
Always prepared just in case something needs to go down.
Yeah, great. Andy, talk to me about your agent. What is Shoemaker looking like? How's he preparing?
Yeah, Shoemaker is going to be driving into New York City. It's about a 6-hour drive from Richmond, Virginia. And so he has a 1985 Jeep Wrangler that he'll be taking, and he will be in jeans, short sleeves, all higher end, and a jacket as well, which covers the fact that he wears a gun as an FBI agent, and also has a can of pepper spray in one pocket, and a smaller dose of pepper spray is on his keychain. And so he's not going to let his obsession with high fashion drop just because he's on a mission, but he will definitely, we met him last week and he uses sleeping pills to get sleep through the night. And so he's going to take a double dose, sleep in as long as he can, and take off mid-morning to get up there. He will probably be arriving minutes before they're supposed to.
And Hog, if we can get something about Heather, what's that prep look like?
Yeah. Heather Stodder lives in Midtown Manhattan, right? In the area that you might call Koreatown. Her father's owned a store there for a long time. And out of that store, she does her preparations. She has a delivery to perform as cover, so she has a small package with the requested light meter in it, but also slung over her shoulder, dressed a small woman in black clothing, bony, short, bags under her eyes, thin blonde hair. She has a duffel bag, rather large one, filled with what passes for the tools of her trade, as she assumes it. Soldering irons, electronic equipment, a couple small discrete listening devices, and a number of notebooks, pencils, pens, and she's ready for whatever she may find when she arrives at Washington Park.
Almost rivaling Charlie's character's preparedness, it seems. The late afternoon sun beams down relentlessly, casting sharp shadows across the cobblestone and lawns. The park feels alive, buzzing with a chaotic energy that borders on overstimulation. Musicians line the pathways, each playing their own tune, guitars, drums, and a violinist near the fountain competing for dominance. The air is thick with the mingling scent of food carts, warm pavement, and sweat from the tourists clustered beneath the arch. The iconic Washington Square Arch stands brilliant and blindingly white in the harsh light, its details etched in sharp relief. Jugglers perform near the fountains, colorful props spinning in tight, synchronized arcs. The tourists move in clusters, there's a lot of them, snapping photos of everything from the arch to the street performers. Laughter, conversation, and the occasional bark of a dog punctuate the constant drone of activity. The park is a vivid mosaic of movement, sound, and heat, but something about it just feels slightly off. The shadows are just a little bit too sharp, the colors a little too bright, and the performers smiled a little too fixed. It's as though the park is putting on a show and you have arrived just in time for the climax. Starting with Ty, as always, what would your characters like to do when they arrive?
I think Reed would just post up on a bench and kind of observe, use his high alertness to observe the scene around him and keep his eyes open for any characters that stick out from the crowd. He's never been involved in anything regarding Delta Green before, but he was told that he might be approached by people that would put him up to some sort of work like this. And so he's on high alert, but he doesn't know what to expect.
Charlie, we'll go to you next here. What do you think that your agent would be doing when he arrives?
Adam would be a bit disoriented because it's very bright, it's very colorful, it's very different from in jail. It's also very loud, a cacophony of noises probably and speech around him. So trying to find his center, also on a bench, probably get, if there's a fountain somewhere, probably get a little swig of water to calm his nerves down, because it has been a while since he's been in the field or in any kind of action. He would also be looking out for any sort of targets or any form of anything that sticks out in the crowd.
Yeah, I think that it's likely that you get that drink of water and then do the kind of scan that people that have been in, either a military or police or security, whatever, that 5, 10, 20 kind of scan where you look out and see from closest to farthest, what are the possible threats, what are the angles. And I think you're overwhelmed.
Yeah, very much.
Any number of these people could likely be a threat. So there's a lot, different physiques, body types. So I'd imagine that Adam is a little overwhelmed at this point in time. I mean, I think everybody is.
Yeah.
But him
However, I would have noticed the exits, the multiple pathways that people could be taking if there would be a runner.
for sure. Andy, talk to us about Shoemaker.
So Shoemaker is coming on the scene and will do two things right off the bat. The first one is enjoy the food carts and use them to get whatever form of caffeine will go straight into his veins. And then prop himself up in some shade. He is wearing a jacket, and it's a August day in the city, so he's hot, and so he's going to be sipping his caffeine under a tree or somewhere where there's shade. Also doing something just to fiddle with something, because for Shoemaker, his interaction with Delta Green has been talking to people who've been in the field and assessing their readiness to function in society. So he is nervous about his first mission, seeing the disaster that some individuals who've been out in the field have experienced and have become. And so he's fiddling a little bit with whatever he can and sipping his tea or coffee, whatever's available, just trying to calm himself down.
Last but not least, Hawk, tell us about Stoddard.
Stoddard is cautious in this situation. She fundamentally believes that she is being brought into a situation that requires her very special expertise in the form of math, electronics, and that requires a detail-driven outlook. So as she approaches, she is more focused on the objects than the people, keeping an eye out for people with bags, briefcases out of place, eyes peeled for strange devices nearby. She doesn't really know what she's looking for, but her prior exposure makes her think that there's going to be something that doesn't quite line up about this conversation she's about to have.
The late afternoon light filters through the trees, cutting sharp lines across the cobblestone of Washington Square Park. The air buzzes with the energy of tourists and performers. A juggler's pins spin in bright arcs. A saxophone croons lazily in the distance, and children's laughter echoes near the fountain. But all of it fades into the background as you hear the drum. A relentless, hollow rhythm, steady, beckoning. You find yourself drawn toward the sound. Others are too. A small crowd gathers around an open patch of pavement where a lone figure moves with unerring precision. A child-sized clown in coveralls, its geometric patterns clashing with the warm hues of the late sun. A mask covers its head entirely, an oversized smile with rectangular teeth frozen mid-laugh. The clown dances to the strange looping dirge spilling from a scratchy antique record player. The drum beats endlessly beneath the music, a thread that pulls you closer with every step. Its movements are flawless, mechanical, yet deliberate, each step falling in time with this disjointed melody. In its hands, a ribbon-covered paper dragon swirls through the air, its bright colors catching the sunlight as it paints elaborate, mesmerizing patterns. You're all entranced. The laughter and the chatter of the park fall away until there's just this music, the drum, and the way the paper dragon seems to move, just for you. One by one, you all realize that you are not alone. You all glance sideways and catch the eyes of each other, your fellow agents scattered on the edge of the crowd. And then, a hand waves from the corner of your eye, a figure seated at a picnic table under the trees, gesturing pretty urgently. His movements are exaggerated, almost frantic, breaking the spell long enough for you to register your surroundings again. You're each looking at each other now, overtly, faces pale but determined. Your handler waves again, his hand cutting through the sunlight. You begin to move, each of you, toward him as the crowd starts to shift, dispersing slightly. When you look back at the open space, the clown is gone. The record player remains, spinning silently. The crowd, uninterested, is moving on as though nothing strange happened. Your handler looks to be he's strung pretty tight. He's sitting at this concrete picnic table thing in Washington Square Park. He's got his tie is loosened. He's got this battered leather valise that's sitting next to him. He's got this look. He's doing the kind of, as best he can. He's trying not to be overt, but he's waving pretty overtly, and he's looking around, concerned, looking for other prying eyes.
Does he seem to have noticed the same thing that we just observed?
No. It's almost unsettling as well because he's kind of behind. He's behind where the clown was performing. So theoretically, all of you were looking right at him as well as the space where the clown was dancing. It's a bit unnerving. He kind of pops into your view as if he wasn't there before.
So he was nearby where that performance was happening.
That's right.
And the record player is still there?
It is. It's on the ground.
Still playing.
It's not playing. There's no longer a record on the record player.
Okay.
Would Reed look at it or pick it up or interact with it?
I mean, Reed's pretty bewildered at the moment, but he's going to kind of try and shake it off and introduce himself.
Be ever
Hold his
professional.
hand out.
Yeah. Okay. Your handler shakes your hand, each of your hands if you offer it. He certainly does. Asks you to sit down. And he heads right into it. He doesn't really spend much time with pleasantries. He does introduce himself. He does say that his name is Marcus. You may call him Marcus. He'll be your handler. He just runs right in. All right, listen up. You've been cleared to assist the FBI on a missing persons case. Abigail Wright, 26 years old, disappeared from her apartment in Manhattan. Officially, it's a suspected kidnapping. Bureau has deputized some of you and have hired the rest as consultants. Operate under their banner, keeping your heads down, do the job without drawing attention. He gestures to the valise he's got next to him, a little briefcase-looking thing he's got next to him, and he opens with a sharp snap. He reveals the contents organized, but radiating an air of quiet menace. This is everything you'll need. Take it seriously. He slides it across the table. Inside are temporary FBI credentials, folded New York Post article, some police and FBI case files about Abigail Wright, and then the address of a place called the McAllister Building, which is on East 32nd Street, where Wright lived. Freshly cut keys stamped with "Do Not Duplicate," that you assume get you inside the McAllister Building, and a Polaroid of Abigail Wright taken by seemingly herself. It's a 1995 selfie. It's slightly out of focus, almost like it was rushed. There's a sticker on the back that says Wright A, 1 June 94. Marcus's hands rest on the edge of the table. His fingers are curling as if he's bracing himself for what he's about to say. You are FBI now, and your cover is solid. You're there to catalog everything in her apartment. And I mean everything. Every scrap of paper, every object, every speck of dust. The locals have already swept the place, but we're not the locals. We're looking for what they missed. His eyes flicker to the valise. His voice gets a little lower as he brings it in closer to you. There's something else. A symbol was found in her apartment. Something tied to the occult. I don't have a copy. I don't know its name. You don't need to see it. It's all you need to know is it's bad fucking news. Dangerous. If it shows up again, it's your job to figure out what it means and deal with it fast. This case stinks of something unnatural. Your job is to find out if that's true. If it is, you stop it. You end it. You do not let it leave that building. He snaps the valise shut, slides it across the table likely to read. And he says, be thorough, be careful, and don't think for a second this is going to go the way you expect it to. He looks around, he kind of straightens up, looks around. Okay, you've got your orders, I'll take your questions. Make them short.
Catalog? Do you really bring me out here to catalog stuff?
He's like, look, I was not involved with the team selection very in depth, but obviously the people who have you coming over here to do this, they think you'd be useful for some reason. I don't know. I don't make these kind of calls. I just show up and deal with the aftermath sometimes.
Something tells me there's a reason you're here.
Do we have any suspects?
No suspects. Nobody that the police have talked to have really had anything notable to say. All her neighbors liked her, basically, and everybody was pretty cordial.
Any suspected foul play?
Well, the reason that we're here, the FBI's here, is her credit card was used in. He takes a second, opens up the valise, turns around, opens it up, looks in there. Patience, Maryland. We used Patience, Maryland, to purchase a pack of Old Gold cigarettes on the 4th of August, so a little less than a week ago. Signature on the gas station receipt. It was her name, not her handwriting. There's no surveillance cameras. The FBI took that lead as best it could. That's the reason we're
You
involved.
already got a team out there then, yeah?
And Patience? Yeah, I'm not FBI, but from what I'm told, the FBI went out there, it was a dead end. If you think there's something there, I'd say investigate it. Like I said, the FBI they're not us. Yeah, so.
So catalog the evidence, return it to you.
Yeah, that's right.
That's
right.
That's
And if
it.
there's something unnatural going on, you gotta end it. You gotta stop it. Look, I don't know. The official gig is catalog, but something smells fishy. I've been around this game for a bit. I'm concerned about it.
And if we got to reach out to you, is there a way for us to do that?
Yeah, I would much prefer an encrypted email or encrypted phone. So I'll tell you what, I'll write down my email for you. And you can utilize that if you have to contact me. I don't trust the phones. I don't know. They're new, and the cell phones especially. I don't know. But I'll give you my email address. You write it down.
Yeah, well, internet isn't very highly monitored anyway, so
That's true.
should be fine.
Yeah.
Were there any differences in her personality before she disappeared? Anyone notice any differences? Anything, groups she was a part of, friends she was making, anything that would give us some kind of lead as to maybe what led to her disappearance?
She had an art show in '94 last year at the Mercury Gallery. She sold a lot of pieces there. It was pretty successful for her. She took work off from basically the beginning of the year until now. She was reported missing. She made enough money off those pieces, and she was focusing on her work. So no one really knew. Her parents, they talked to her regularly or every so often. Her neighbors, she didn't have a lot of friends there, but her neighbors knew her. They were cordial. No one said anything fishy about it. It was, she did fine. She was a happy lady.
Any anecdotal reports from the parents? What do they have to say about it?
Parents are pretty broke up about it all. That's the way that's the way we got here. Well, that's the way the New York PD got in as fast as they could. Her dad's a Nassau County PD guy. Called in a couple favors, had him come over, take a look, and that's how the whole thing got busted open. Right, so I haven't talked to him much, but from what I understand, they're pretty broke up about it all. I'd be too, shit.
What's the protocol on contacting them? Is that an option?
Yeah, you're the agents. I don't know, I wouldn't call them. Keep the vectors low, it's kind of the main means, but if you think it's worthwhile, do it. Be careful.
Is there protocol for what happens if this gets beyond our ability to contain it?
You knew, I guess. Yeah. All right. Look, there's something about sacrificing, the needs of a few for the betterment of many. If it comes down to it, it might be better to just, go scorched earth. I mean, I've done a lot of crazy shit being around for as long as I have. And I didn't get here by not burning down a couple buildings. I don't know. You got to sleep at night, so if that's you do what's best. But sometimes killing it with fire might be the way to go. I don't know. It's my 2 cents.
It's reassuring. Thank you, Marcus.
Yeah, sure. All right. Stands up. I hope you have a pleasant day. Turns and walks toward the edge of the park. 4 of you now sit with each other, all recognizing that you are here as a team.
I don't think I would email him much beyond a location for a dead drop or a mate. Monitoring is complicated. You can get lost in the noise, but I would assume anyone who is involved with the kinds of work we're involved with is monitored.
Yeah. Less is more. Less is more.
I'm Agent Miranda, by the way.
Millstone.
Meridian.
Merchant.
A pleasure. I'm not a field person, really, so are any of you experienced and have any input on how we go about investigating this?
Well, I mean, I got experience apprehending fugitives, but, that's where my mind goes immediately, is that somebody took her. But,
okay. A kidnapping, not a runaway.
I mean, who the hell knows? But
yeah.
The job on its face is simple, right? We got to catalog the contents of a room. It shouldn't be that hard. Should take less than a day, right? It's an apartment.
Depends on the room.
Yeah, well,
I've been in plenty of rooms and built profiles off of this. This is maybe not a 4-person job.
Well, like Miranda said, I mean, it depends on the room.
Well,
I suppose.
The person, she's an artist. Cataloging may involve anything. Artists in the city collect the damnedest things, all sorts of things. And, I'm not a profiler, but it seems to me anything could be important. So we have to go through every last single thing, figure out if she had, I don't know, cadmium poisoning or from the wrong blue or something.
Yeah, lots of data.
Well, I'll leave that part to you.
Well, let's get to it, I guess.
Yeah. And what's your deal? Meridian, you said?
I'm making sure that if anybody's acting funny around us, they either get dealt with or they move aside.
Very portentous of you, but we do appreciate it.
I'm sure you will.
All right, scary guy. I guess we get to move on then?
Yeah.
All right, yeah, I guess we walk to the nearest subway station.
I think it'd be safe to say that while you are in the subway station, especially those of you who are not from New York, there may be this sense of feeling watched or feeling like you're in the presence of a lot more eyeballs. Maybe a better way to say that. There's a lot of people watching you, and it's kind of that thing where when you take a cookie from the cookie jar, you feel like you're being watched more, as if you've got something more to hide, a little more burden as you're walking down the subway. But it's a very uneventful trip. You make your way through the tube to the right stop and hop off, and there you are. Pretty much, it's a couple-minute walk from there to a pretty decently imposing building. The McAllister building looms ahead, a stubborn relic of another time wedged between newer, sleeker structures like a jagged tooth in an otherwise polished grin. Its brick facade is weathered and uneven, streaked with soot and grime from decades of neglect. The windows are unevenly spaced, their dark clouded panes reflecting the late afternoon light in fractured patterns, as though the building itself resists being truly seen. Above the entrance, the words McAllister Building are barely legible, the once proud lettering worn to faint whispers of its original gold. The double doors, painted an indifferent shade of green, are chipped and peeling, exposing raw wood beneath like old scars. A small, rusted intercom box hangs crookedly in the entrance, its speaker grill clogged with dust and cobwebs.
Do we have access to her apartment, keys, all that? Do we need to talk to the super? We probably want to make sure that no one comes bothering us with whatever work we're doing.
As Agent Miranda says that, I'm going to crack open the valise, set it on some sort of planter or whatever's in the area and take a look at the contents, see if there's an apartment key or whatever is there.
There are 2 keys. One of the keys looks to be, it's not labeled, look to probably the front door key. There is a key that is labeled. The apartment, the label on the key rather says 1A, which is, you assume, Abigail's apartment.
All right, well, looks like we got what we need right here.
All right, well, let's head in. If any of you guys see any sign of a, I don't know, building this size could have a super in the basement, but if we see anyone like that, keep your eyes peeled. We should make sure that they know we're here on official business sooner rather than later.
You walk up to the door. Just inside the door, you see there's a jovial-looking, charismatic kind of man standing there in a police uniform near a bunch of mailboxes just inside. As you open the door, he says, "Oh, you guys the agents? The FBI?"
Yeah, I'll
Pleasure to
flash
meet
my
you.
credentials in the smooth, practiced way that I'm used to.
He's like, "So good to see you," and he shakes all of your hands, goes around. "So good to have some proper gumshoes out here, you know what I mean? Some really nice people come out. Look at this. This is good. This is good. Very good. I'm Jared Onda. You can call me Joe if you want. That's my first name.
Nice to meet
Sure
you,
thing, Joe.
Yeah, good to meet you. Good to meet you. So yeah, I'm a detective. I'm the one in charge of this scene here. I'm standing by.
So you've been in.
Yeah, spent a lot of time in there. Yeah,
So
been in there, and it's something to see. It's something to see for sure. There's a lot in there. So it's pretty busy. The wall.
the wall.
So that's why 4 people, huh?
Guess I don't know.
That's
I
why.
guess if you come in a catalog, that's gonna take you. It's gonna take you a couple days. Couple days to get some Joe in you. I mean, not me, the coffee. You get some coffee in you. That'd be good. You'll be, yeah. He says, "Yeah, I'm just here I'm in charge of the case. I heard you coming in. Figured I'd say hello and, welcome you and answer any questions you might have had about the investigation up to this point, so you can get in there and you can start doing your catalog thing." Not everybody
Great,
wants.
Yeah.
Come on now. Yeah.
No, it's really great. Great. Thank you for meeting us out here. Hey, I don't want to bias our investigation at all, but
Right.
the newspaper article did state that there were some disturbing items in the apartment. All those items are still there. Nothing's been moved.
Well, I mean, so everything's still there. When some of the new guys got in, they thought they'd take down a couple of things and use them. CD player, tape recorder, a little radio. But as soon as I saw they had taken those things down, I gave them the what for. I told them, you can't do that. So just those 3, that you'll see them. They're right by that box of yours. It's in the middle of the room with the pictures and all the gloves and that. So you'll see that. Nothing else has been removed. Everything's up there. And there's some of the things a little bit, a little concerning. Yeah, a little bit.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Anything else from either any of you guys? Anything?
Any trouble with the neighbors or the building owners, anything like that?
What is your human? What is Miranda's
My
human?
human? Oh, it's a whopping 30.
Okay. He comes back with, nope, no problems. A lot of interviews went around, and no issues really. Merchant definitely catches a little bat signal going off here. He's like, bat senses. This guy's probably not telling the whole truth at this point. Yeah, no problems. This whole building's a co-op. A lot of artists here, so all kind of fishy. All kind of, you get that. You get that artist,
Yeah, you know the type.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. Yeah. Okay.
Well, Detective Giordano, we appreciate your time.
Hey,
Thank you so much.
Of course. He takes out his business card. He's like, hey, anything you guys ever need when you get in here, you let me know. You let me know. My mom's got a great recommendation for a bunch of pizza places. She got a website. I'll tell you. It's great. Really good. She hands out a card to each of you. Okay, all right. Hey, have a good day. Good to see y'all. And he kind of makes his way toward the door, walks out, starts whistling, walks out the door, closes behind him. You're now alone in this building.
And what do we see around us?
There is the general state of disrepair that comes with a lower income housing. Floor is kind of cracked linoleum, not super nice to look at. The walls could certainly use a repainting. There's holes in them from many, many hangings of items on the wall. It smells kind of like mildew, a little bit of the stuck smoke in the carpet and the walls.
Anything specifically out of place where we are right now?
No, you're in like the lobby area. Mailboxes are there. Nothing really out of place around you.
I'll pull out a notepad and take down any names on all of the mailboxes just for cross-reference later,
There are 11 or so apartments. Their number kind of an odd way there. It's got 1A, 2B, 3A, 4A. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 residents currently. There are 6 empty rooms or apartments for a total of 11 apartments. I will mention quickly the names of the people who are in the other apartments. So we've got that. In apartment 1A is where Abigail Wright is supposed to be. She's missing, obviously. In 2B, we have Thomas Manuel. 3A, we have a Roger Caroon. In 4A, the nameplate says L Post. And in 6B, the nameplate says M Van Fitz.
If we're near Washington Square Park, that means we're near NYU. There's not a lack of people who would want to be close to NYU in this part of town, even if it's not the nicest.
There is more going on here than one might expect. That officer was not fully forthcoming with with the issues he was having, talking to the tenants and super and things like that.
Yeah.
There's more to it than that.
It's also strange because he said it was a co-op. I don't know any co-op that can sustain itself on under 50% capacity. Over half the building is empty. That's already a little bit strange, but maybe, I don't know. It is kind of a Shag looks around shithole. So, whatever. We'll figure it out. Let's do what we're here to do and check out the apartment. We can do interviews later if we have to, I suppose.
Yeah. Catalog in the rooms. Let's go.
That's the whole job. All right.
Yeah.
You've got the key, Millstone?
Yeah. He kind of fumbles with the valise and pulls it out, starts walking down the hallway.
On the ground floor, as you walk down the hall toward where you know or think Abigail's apartment is, you realize, especially I think Heather, I think that Miranda would definitely, as soon as you start walking, you realize that these are probably pretty big apartments. This brownstone was likely not built with the intention of housing multiple apartments and was probably more meant to be a large, grand house. If you look down the hallway, only 2 doors. These are pretty big. These are pretty big apartments and pretty, quote, luxurious, especially as New York is concerned. You round the corner of this hallway. In front of you, you see that there is a little closet, like a hallway closet. The door to Abigail's apartment, 1A, that is closed. And on the right, 2 other apartments down the end of the hall, there's kind of an old telephone nook as well. that is right on the corner there by Abigail's apartment. There's also, you see the stairs are in the center of the building and go up. Kind of, there's one that goes down and one that goes up, and you choose, you can go up or you go down in the middle of the building. Kind of opens up the whole floor.
Gotcha.
Millstone is going to take that key in his hand, turn the lock, and open up the room.
The door groans open, revealing a space that feels less like an apartment and more like the aftermath of a fever dream. Air inside is stale, with the acrid tang of epoxy and the faint, sour scent of mildew. The dim light from the window barely cuts through the gloom, casting shadows that stretch unnaturally long across the walls. The walls themselves are no longer walls, but an overwhelming collage of objects. Shirts, shoes, briefcases, artificial limbs, radios from every decade, dentures, doll parts, all glued or taped in chaotic patterns. Scattered among the detritus are scraps of paper in countless languages, Spanish, Mandarin, Farsi, fluttering faintly in the draft that leaks through the cracks. The floor is stripped bare. The rug has been yanked back to reveal cracked linoleum that feels like an island amid the rising tide of madness. The arrangement is obsessive, suffocating. Nearby, you notice signs of disturbance. The 3 pieces of electronic equipment, the Giordanda mentioned, a transistor radio, a small tape player, and a CD Walkman, all ripped from the walls. The faint indentation of where they once hung are surrounded by jagged remnants of epoxy, as if their removal had been in an act of desperation. The city's hum seeps faintly through the room's window, distant and distorted like the last notes of a melody stretched too thin. For a moment, the room feels alive, its walls shifting in your peripheral vision. The objects leaning toward you as if waiting for recognition. Then the moment passes, leaving behind only silence and the faint, sticky odor of glue. After entering the room, you also find a cardboard box right in the middle of the room marked Evidence, FBI White Plains, Right-A, 10 AUG 95, containing 4 Polaroid cameras, 100 packs of film, which would allow you to take about 800 photographs if you'd like. In addition, there are latex gloves, evidence bags, stickers, and sealing tape, as well as a manifest list for the contents of the box.
Well, guess we got our work cut out for us then, yeah?
Yeah, real 4-person job, I'd say.
This
Jesus
is
Christ.
fantastic.
I mean, what the fuck?
Oh, yes. This is something.
It's something, yeah. We're gonna need a system, right? To either of you, and she sort of looks towards the 2 agents she kind of has gathered have a little bit more law enforcement experience and say, any experience with crime scene protocols, evidence, cataloging?
No.
I mean, mostly when I'm done at a crime scene, other people come in and do that stuff. So,
Okay.
you know,
Yeah,
I think I'll be sufficient, but I'm certainly
not
not the most knowledgeable.
That makes sense. Yeah, I'll figure something out. Okay.
Yeah, no, I've done this 100 times.
Okay, good. Okay. Well, you're the expert then. You tell us the protocol. We'll follow it to the letter. How do we start?
Yeah, so with a forensics of 50, what the others will notice is that Merchant just puts himself in the middle of the room and just kind of takes it all in. And for the next few moments is unresponsive to anyone. If they ask, he just kind of waves it off. And then, as though snapping back to reality, we should start with this, and just lays out a plan for the next 3 days of how to capture the big picture so that they can see any patterns that might emerge, basically cataloging each item and being able to reset it in a way that disturbs the scene as little as possible. And of course, universal precautions. And so Merchant will hand out gloves.
Does anyone have any experience with adhesives? taps the sort of glistening lacquer on the wall over one of the objects. Are we chipping it out?
May not be necessary.
I'm down with a forensics roll here. If someone wants to roll forensics.
12 under 50.
Seems good. It's going to be nigh impossible, short of bringing in some serious solvent, like seriously a lot of solvent, and then applying it really well, perfectly. You're going to damage the majority of the things that come off this wall. Especially paper. Paper is paper's pretty much, it's there.
The patterns of the way everything is glued together, do they resemble something, or like from afar? Like, do they look like it's a map or some symbols of some sort, or is it just a mishmash of everything stuck on a wall?
I'm going to use this opportunity to share a nerdy bit about something I know. There was a study done by a big fancy college about the feeling of being watched. And the study, all they did was had people stand in a room, and there was somebody that was just in their peripheral. And the subject had to say whether that person was looking at them or not. Couldn't really see him peripheral. The vast majority of people knew, for no good reason, that they were being watched. It's kind of the same feeling. You've got this feeling like you are looking at something really important, disgusting, and fancy. You could not tell anybody walking by on the street why, but you have this heavy feeling that rests with you as you look at the expanse that is here. Something is here, and you're both scared and excited to discover what that might be.
But from a sheerly logical left brain point of view, there's no apparent rhyme or reason to the way that things are arranged.
Correct.
All right.
I mean, none of it makes sense. Like, she's glued a pair of dentures next to an excerpt from a script or something that says, "Rain-torn millennia damned him, master." I mean, what the fuck does that mean?
Artists.
Your guess is as good as mine.
Weird.
Yeah, he said it. So, I mean, how do we want to split this work up? Like, how do we start?
Okay. Photos, right?
Photos.
Okay.
Great.
Grab a camera and let's get to it.
Okay. So the way this is going to work, rules-wise, every period of a day you spend in that room, there will be 2 search rolls that you get to make. For this evening, we're going to go with 1 search roll because you'll have a decent amount of time tonight to take a look and take photos and look around.
I think I'm gonna, I'll just stick with the main living room area.
Okay.
Miranda pauses and goes, Agent Merchant, do you mind if I check out those electronic devices? That's more in my field anyway.
Absolutely.
Meanwhile, Millstone's grabbed a camera and he's just kind of approaching the overwhelming ridiculousness of what's on the wall. And he's just scanning it for the first thing that catches his eye. What other way do you approach something so utterly insane? And he rolls cert. And that's 15 under 70.
Meridian would essentially start to get frustrated immediately by looking at papers and stuff that is, to him, definitely not worth his time. He will try and slip out to go have a look at the perimeter and the floors to see if anything seems out of place, though a way that she might have left. Would she have left a clue behind that the cops have missed?
If Merchant's a kid in a candy shop, this is a psychological grab bag of goodies. And so he will kind of pace the big picture and basically look for something that is going to pop out at him. And so rolling search, 28 under 40.
Millstone, you are looking at the wall, taking it all in. Something definitely pops out at you. You notice that there is what looks to be a napkin that's been glued to the wall. Seems like there's something on it that is striking you as not fitting in with... I mean, fitting in is an odd way to put this, but it somehow seems to stick out to you very overtly. It seems like you would definitely, if you are able and you want to reach up there and grab it, you definitely want to.
I mean, with an eye to investigation and kind of maintaining the integrity of what could potentially be a crime scene.
Sure.
Hollis is going to not reach up and grab it, but rather get himself really close to the wall and just kind of put his eyes right up to it.
Okay. Yeah, you see this very odd-looking shape. It seems like it's got legs. Maybe it's got a head or a body, but it definitely has legs. And it's got this feeling kind of crawling. You get this crawling sensation going on as you take it in. Go ahead and roll sand for me.
Well, let's start things off with a kick-ass sand roll of 90 over 70.
Yeah.
And as Reed Hollis, whose name no one else knows, by the way,
Yes.
is staring at this piece of paper. I mean, he just goes... There's this sensation of crawling, but his body is absolutely rigid, and his eyes are fixed on that thing, unblinkingly, to the point where they begin to water.
Merchant, the results of your searching are an object that is very colorful, overtly colorful, on the wall. It's a Polaroid photo. And it's a photo of an older, I would say probably late 50s man, white man, late 50s white woman. Woman's wearing like a nice red dress, and he's wearing a suit. And they are standing looking at the camera, but their eyes, all four, 2 sets, have been scratched out of the photo.
Mm-hmm.
In the background, there is what seems to be an arm. You see the shape of a hand and an arm. The arm is in this puffy Harlequin costume, and the hand has this pristine white glove on it. It's certainly very disturbing. The background of where they are seems to be like a nice home. Could be their home. There's a nice photo on the wall behind them. But there's this arm that is almost like disrespectful or grotesque in that it's just so adjacent to a happy family photo.
Merchant is squirmy a little bit and trembling, tries to catch a solid picture of the picture. This is what he was afraid of when he got the call that he was actually going into the field, was that stuff like this would start to pop up.
Miranda is going to be looking at all these technological doodads.
Yep, she's looking over the electronic devices. She's kind of muttering under her breath, turning them over, taking down serial numbers, make, model, checking to see if they have any contents still, to see if they're functional, to see if they've been modified in any way.
Roll me luck, please.
I'm going to bet that's a no, because that is a 94.
Nice. You take a look at the 3 items. The Walkman is just... One could say that it will no longer walk man. It is... A portion of it has been removed. A portion is still on the wall. It's very, very not workable. The tape player is empty. Someone who wasn't you would probably say something like, "It probably still works." It's definitely not going to still work. There is something wrong with the pickups. It's not going to play a tape. It's just not.
Okay.
The transistor radio, you take a look at it, you check the back. There are no batteries in the radio. It seems to be usable, and nothing about it seems like it's broken.
Well, I've got batteries in my bag, so...
You toss some batteries in it, flip the switch, and it does not do anything. There's no signal, no AM or FM. There's no signal whatsoever.
Let's get in there. Let's try to open her up and see what the fault is. See if it's this adhesive or if it was something that was done intentionally or anything like that.
With your computer science as it is, there's no need for a roll here. It's a pretty old transistor radio. You've probably worked on at least five or six that have been like this in your time. It seems to be that there is no dust in the speakers, which seems to say that it has been used at some point recently-ish. There is dust on a lot of the items in this room, so it is different in that regard. In addition, it looks like the wiring, it looks like it was burned out a while ago.
Mm-hmm.
There's just not really a real chance that anything would start this thing up.
I'm going to catalog it as a standard burnt-out transistor radio in that case, and then I'll move on to taking photos of other objects.
I would like to have Miranda, Merchant, and Millstone all make me a SAN roll, please. As you spend a good amount of time in this room at night.
64 under 65. Blackjack.
A 68 at 68.
You love to see it. You love to see it. And Merchant?
64 under 70.
Look at you guys in the 60s over here. Okay. You really begin to feel overwhelmed at about an hour. You get this sensation that maybe Millstone is a little bit more aware of, that you are being watched while you're in this room. No matter how much you walk around and look in the bathroom and check under the bed, there's no one else in here, and there's certainly no cameras in here, but you feel you're being watched. It's hard to shake that feeling. It sticks with you as you keep taking photographs. None of you lose any SAN at this, but it's certainly unsettling.
Miranda, as she gets more and more uncomfortable, starts to mutter under her breath, and she keeps returning and muttering fragments of the scrap of paper she read off the wall earlier, and now for the life of her can't seem to find. She keeps going, rain-torn millennia?
Mm-hmm.
And just muttering that under her breath, variations on that phrase.
Whereas I think that Agent Millstone, he started off this investigatory part of this cataloging session, kind of transfixed and enthralled by what he was seeing around him ever since he beheld that symbol. Everything has become sort of mechanical and rote for him, and he's just sort of going through the motions exactly and nothing else.
We will now cut to Meridian. Out in the hallway, you look around. There's definitely no sign of foul play. There's no scratch marks on the wall. Nothing of really any note. As you are walking back toward the room to report your findings, you step on something that cracks. You step down and it crunkles under your It crunkles under your foot.
It's canon. Crunkles.
Crunkly.
Crunkles.
There is something crunkle under your foot. There's something that's running from under the hallway rug just inside the door of Abigail's apartment, and it's connected to a wire. That's what you stepped on.
There a way to remove the carpet?
Yeah, you could. You peel it back. There's just more wire. The wire seems to lead down the hall a little ways. Do you want to follow it all the way down the hall, or do you want to
prefer to see what it's attached to in Abigail's apartment to see what I'm going to find at the other end?
Yeah. You open up the door and you see that just barely visible, there is what appears to be a small microphone that is hidden by the doorway. And that microphone cord is what's running down the hall toward something else. Another, who knows? An apartment. There's some closets. Do you want to follow the cord?
Sure.
You walk down the hall, and just down on your right, there is a door. And on the door, the person who is in that apartment, you see that there is 2B. And you remember that is Thomas Manuel's apartment. that there is a microphone in Abigail's apartment that leads and is being listened to or recorded by, presumably, Thomas Manuel.
Meridian looks at the cable through his hand, sees that it goes through the door of Thomas Manuel, decides to drop the cable on the floor, and give 3 loud pounds onto Thomas Manuel's door. Thomas Manuel, this is the FBI. Open up.
And that is where we'll join our players next week.
Can't wait for the firefight next week.
Okay, that's good.
Let's do it.
Rolling for unarmed combat.
Do you want outro shit now? Thank you so much to our viewers and listeners for spending your time with us. New episodes debut every Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So remember, please join us again next week. And also remember, the Null Project and This Line Isn't Secure thrive on your support. Whether it's liking and subscribing on YouTube, supporting on Patreon, or just sharing the show with someone who you think would enjoy. Have a good... Fucking so bad at that, dude.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
And remember...
You guys ever watch the documentary series The Jinx?
No.
Okay.
I'm a robot. Beep boop bop. Bye-bye.
Goodbye, Mr.
Bye,
Robot.
everyone.
Good night. I'll burn it with fire.
Powering down.
We'll see you next
Adios,
week.
gang.
Bye.
Oh, man. I don't want to think about glue. I do enough of that.
When? Before we sign off, I want to take a moment to talk about something very close to my heart. This podcast is about exploring darkness and fear, but in real life, those feelings can be overwhelming. I want to remind you that if you're feeling lost, lonely, or struggling, you don't have to face it alone. There are people who care about you and want to help. If you're in the U.S., you can call or text 988, the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline, for free, confidential support 24/7. Wherever you are, there are resources and there is hope. You matter and your story matters. We'll see you all next week.